And for those who say that there is a military base in Botswana, a U.S. military base in Botswana, I want to understand it. I'm from that area, Thebephatshwa area. It's next to Molepolole, and it's an ongoing story that the U.S. have a military base in Botswana. There's political parties from outside of Botswana. People have been prohibited now from coming to Botswana because of talking about the story a lot. So I'm going to ask you, General, is there a military base, U.S. military base in Botswana?
Hopefully I can put all this to rest.
Yes, sir.
No, there is not.
Okay.
But we are deepening our partnership through our activities together.
Yes, sir.
Whether it's engagements like the Chiefs of Defense Conference here, or whether it be us working together in exercises, in exchange of information, security cooperation, some equipment, maybe C-130 type aircraft being transitioned over, but not a base.
People of different identities. Podcast with BSCAR.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Podicast right here on Local Corner Multimedia. That's where we're at on the YouTube streets. That's where you check us out every single Wednesday. And I'm your host, Scar, as usual. And you can check, we're not where we're usually at, man. We're somewhere fancier. This is a really, really nice space. So, yeah, we got some really, really good guests for you today. And before we get into it, man, we are on the sidelines of something really, really epic. I just need to make sure that the wording is proper. It's the African Chiefs of Defense Conference. That's happening here at the GICC. It's going to be going on, between Tuesday and Wednesday. I think Wednesday and Thursday. We'll be able to get all of those in check for you because our guest is a big deal. Like the president of Botswana has been talking a lot about getting conferencing happening in Botswana, like make Botswana a conferencing hub. So it's a very, very big deal that we have this, the very first of its kind right here in Africa, because it has never happened geographically happening in Africa. So we are very, very excited. In the house, our guest is 4-star General, the very first African-American 4-star general in the U.S. Marine Corps. And he's a big deal. I mean, I'm looking at his resume right now. I don't know if in all of these 37 years that he's been in the U.S. Army, he has just kept on ascending, which is a big deal for us to be able to sit right next to him today. Without further ado, to break down what the conference is about and also what the African Command in Africa is about for the U.S. Army, we're joined by General Michael E. Langley. Hello, sir.
Thank you, Scar. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for coming through.
Hey.
How has your stay been in Botswana? How long have you been around?
Oh, wow. Just flew in yesterday.
Okay.
And coming down from Somalia.
Okay.
And stopped by Mombasa and then onward here, in Batswana.
Awesome stuff. I've been reading up on you so much, like I'm actually starting to think I know you because of all of the videos. I hear you like sports, though. I don't know if you were able to check out the NBA Finals, the Boston Celtics taking it all finally.
Scar, I knew you were going to rub that in.
Which team do you support?
Of course, I'm from Dallas, Texas. Actually, I'm from Fort Worth, Texas, but it's all the same. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, and it was good to see our Mavericks get in there, but unfortunately, they just couldn't do the capper. A lot of legacy with the Celtics. Yeah,
but what's going on with the teams, though? Both the Cowboys and now the Mavs. I mean, the Mavs were close to it. What do you think was wrong? If you got to check out any of those games in the finals.
When you play in the playoffs, and especially in the finals, you got to play defense.
Yeah.
3-pointers is not the name of the game all the time.
So Luka doesn't defend.
Yeah, Luka's going to learn the defense.
No, he gets a lot of flack for not defending. But what about Kyrie? You think you guys are able to make another team come through next season, or you have to like dismantle the whole thing.
They got to get some defense. Maybe we can get LeBron James over.
Wow. Apparently he's not leaving LA. He has like a big house over there. So
okay.
Yeah, you guys can keep wishing. But thank you so much for coming through. Do you play any sports yourself? Like, or is this all Army?
Scar, I wanted to be a football player at one time, but I got through college on a track scholarship. So
you ran?
I was a runner back then because I was about 100 pounds lighter.
Okay. Well, we're doing pretty well. That's one sport that we're really doing well across the world. Like we got someone actually who's going to compete for the 100 meters.
Yes, I've seen him. Yeah. We're watching him.
Definitely.
Yes.
But thank you so much for hanging out. I mean, the main focus today, like we said, is your visit to Botswana and also the African Chiefs Conference that's going down. But first of all, we really like to thank you for being here. We want to start a little bit by sharing your background. Where you went to school, where you're from. We know about your sports loving. But where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, so I was born in Louisiana, but raised in Texas. Okay. Starting in Texas, I went and embarked upon a scholarship at the University of Texas Arlington and get my degree of information systems. Okay. And then someone challenged me and said, "Hey, why don't you serve your country?" Yeah. And I said, "What?" He said, "Well, you can work coding computers next year in a cubicle in a high-rise building, or you can go across the world and leading Marines and helping out countries and affecting security and stability." Yeah. I said, "Yes, I'll take that."
Definitely. Yes. How did you get yourself to be, I guess, rewarded for your work like that? Because I'm looking at your credentials, like you've done a whole lot. And I know it's 37 years, and you got in 1985.
Yes, I actually started active duty in 1985.
Yeah,
yes.
I was born in 1984.
Can you make me feel old?
So like all of this, how do you make sure, like within like the Army, I've always wondered, like how do you move up the ranks?
Well, when they say when you get promoted, it's based on potential, and what they think that you can be. Yeah. So it's not a reward or a award, but it's based on taking on more them affecting or having more trust and responsibility. Okay. If you take that on, they'll put on the next rank on you.
I have some friends who are in the Botswana Defense Force. I'm always looking at them. It's like, you've been on this rank for years. How does it go? And I think as someone who's not of service, you start wondering, it's like, how does that really work in that space? But you made it all the way to general, the first African American, a 4-star general. What does that mean for you?
Well, to me, and personally, I see it as a mark of achievement. Did I plan to be it? It's just something that as I strive for more opportunity in doing some of the hard jobs. And like I said, our senior national command authorities said, "No, you have the potential." Yeah, I did that by taking on hard jobs, whether it was in the Middle East or whether it was in the Pacific. And even back in '92, was on the African continent up in Somalia. So I've been able to show that I had the will and the effort and aspiration to take on more responsibility.
No doubt. And you ultimately make it to being commander of the U.S. Africa Command. It's because of all of the service that you've put to, you have behind you. How did that come about? How did you end up, commanding a whole continent, a post for, there's a lot of us here in Africa. So yes, how did you ascend to that? What do you attribute that to?
Well, first of all, when the President of the United States made that call to me, and Secretary of Defense said, "Hey, based on what he's done in the past and what he aspires to do in the future, and his ability, or actually his aspiration to learn about the African continent and the African people." Yeah. They said he's the best man for the job to do that because of his drive and willing to learn and understand the people across the continent, all the countries across the continent of Africa.
So can you give us an overview of the primary operations and missions of the U.S. Africa Command here in Africa?
Yeah, so here in Africa, as I embark upon what we have learned that we should do, we learn that from our African partners. When we know holistically what we're charged to do and the guidance we get from the President of the United States, of course, we look at our national interests, but also the national interests of the countries across the continent of Africa. Learning there to affect upon African-led type aspirations to affect stability, security, and prosperity.
Awesome.
So knowing that, I had to go on a learning campaign when I took command back in August of 2022. Seeing not only the ministers of defense or the chiefs of defense, but also across the whole of government, and learning what the challenges were, but also the opportunities on the African continent as I went from country to country.
Awesome.
So I think that was the biggest success. Before AFRICOM decides what to do, we need to listen to our African partners, because our African partners are going to lead it.
Okay.
And it's showing that.
All right. You'll have to excuse me. I keep saying Army. It's actually Marine Corps. I always battle with that. What is the difference? The Marine Corps and the Army.
The Marine Corps is a few and the proud.
Oh, okay. The strongest ones. Okay, cool. I'll keep it to those. Yeah. But why is it strategically important for the United States to have a military presence in Africa? What are some of the threats that you think exist that maybe we might need help with, or we need help with as the continent?
Well, Scar, there are layered threats. And I could talk all day about violent extremist organizations that, and as we look back at 2008, those violent extremist organizations only made up across the globe, only 4% was down here on the African continent.
Okay.
Now it's 40%.
Okay.
As they came down through the Maghreb.
Okay.
That is a threat on the viability. That is a threat on the prosperity and stability of African countries, especially across the Sahel. Mm-hmm. We see that also complicated by other threats of climate change that stokes agriculture, the viability of farmers or herders in their livelihood, displaces populations, causes desertification, urbanization, stunts the progress of countries being able to achieve prosperity for their populations. Because with this population bulge going farther into the century, it's going to exceed 2 billion. We'd like to see that be opportunities and not problematic. So addressing those layered threats and helping our African partners being able to face these threats head on through a whole of government by building institutions across governance is the enduring solution.
Awesome stuff. Are there any specific regions within the continent that are of concern, security-wise? I mean, in Southern Africa, we don't have those many cases of, let's say, terrorist activity. The only closest thing that I can remember was what happened in Kenya, where there was a shooting in the mall. There's a lot of conflict that usually happens in the East African region. Is there anything in particular that, is of threat and of concern in the Southern African region?
In the Southern African region, I would say, if I can answer the question by starting with what I see that is most stressing parts or regions. Yes. In East Africa, around the Horn of Africa, of course, you still have Al-Shabaab in Somalia, and that's part of the reason I was there now. But if you go across the Sahel, as you saw, that civil war still going on in Sudan. And then as you keep going across the Sahel, you have a number of violent extremist organizations that are preying upon some of these countries. And that's something that we are placing our focus with our African partners in that area as well. Mm-hmm. And there's been a string of coups d'etats across those governments. So I see that's the most stressful piece. But when I was on my campaign of learning the last couple of years, they said, hey, go look at what right looks like, the successes. Go down to Southern Africa. Look at what the Southern African development community does and how they address opportunities and how they address challenges and progress. And I came down here and I saw that. And I saw that here in Botswana, and I saw it in Zambia. And I see a good news story. Yeah. So, like you said, yes, there are some challenges, but there's a lot of talent pool here addressing those challenges. Okay. And I see things working, and I share that. And that's in this conference here. We're going to share some of the ideas. Awesome. And we'll see some of the successes that are shared with some other partners.
I want to understand, like, with terrorism, because like all of us are really afraid of it, it doesn't happen that much, and we thank God and we thank our government for making it not a frequent thing here in Botswana. But what are some of the indicators that there might be terrorist elements coming into, let's say, Botswana, where I think that's what terrorism is. It's about making people uncertain, making people fearful for their lives and not have freedom and enjoy themselves. So what are some of those indicators that, let's say you as the command look out for, just so we make sure that we continue in this space that we're in and continue to be happy?
Yes, we can continuously assess, especially in the Sahel. What are the leading indicators?
The Sahel, can you break that down for those who don't know?
Yeah, so I would say if you start from the Horn of Africa, you start from Somalia and across Ethiopia, then you go into Chad, of course, Sudan and Chad, all the way to coastal West Africa, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. That's the broader region of what we categorize as the Sahel.
Oh, awesome.
And so we look for what are the ingredients, if you will, that stoke violent extreme organization, or is what we call those of the Muslim faith, some ideology that would equate to proportions of a jihad, preying upon military-age males. Now, there's other things that make into a decision by a young youth to go that way, whether it just be an underdeveloped economy or lack of opportunities, or because of crop failures or effects on the herd because of climate change. Yeah. A lot of those are a layered type things that drive instability, that makes terrorism exacerbate or it metastasizes because they are putting and indoctrinated into a false belief. Yeah. And they go to the means of violent extremist organization to prey upon populations. Oh. Those are leading indicators that we try to address, intervention measures. So it's not just the military that does this. It had to be a whole of government to try to intervene in that by building institutions that address these causes.
Okay. Awesome. I want to know about like how the U.S. Africa Command collaborates with the African military and to enhance security and stability. What are some of the things on offer from having a command based in Africa?
Yes, well, I will tell you that when we work with our African partners, every country has done their own assessment of their own military and building partnership capacity. And when they come to AFRICOM or if I go visit them, they say, okay, I think we have in this particular domain, we're good. But in the intelligence domain or logistical domain, could you help us increase our capacity and capability in this, okay, whether it be through education, exercises, and that's how we operate. Mm-hmm. They identify what they need, and we see within our capability to help and together. And then they share ideas, because that exchange goes two ways.
Yes, sir.
Okay, some things that they master that we learn, our forces learn from them.
Awesome. And like these solutions and the support that the U.S. officers offer to African armies, do they better address the situation? How do we know that they're effective? Because, maybe the guys on the ground probably understand it better. How do we make sure that there is a collaboration and it's not, we're coming here to take over and we'll secure everything, and then, the armies of the day, I guess, take a back seat to the advice that the U.S. Army, the Marine Corps is giving?
Scar, that's a great question. And I've been asked that question before, or they said, okay, when you say you want access and influence with these countries, we try our best to just answer to the call of a request. Some countries say, hey, we got this. We just need a little bit here. So at AFRICOM, we don't impose ourselves. We listen. Like I said, my campaign of learning was me listening to what these countries say, that, hey, I have the solution set for security. We just need U.S. help in this particular area. And so it's very nuanced approach, very tailored approach that's led by our African partners.
I like that. This is just off the cuff because, like I said, I've been watching so many things that you've done also. And also, I managed to check a congressional hearing that you were a part of, and you were being asked some really difficult questions domestically about what the U.S. Africa Command stands for and what it does. And, there were also questions about training people who end up becoming insurgents or military, who become the enemy. How is it domestically in the U.S. when there is something like this? How is the reaction domestically there?
And Scar, that's what I see as my number one priority, to be able to communicate to all masses, to include the U.S. taxpayer, of how important our job is at U.S. AFRICOM at protecting U.S. interests, and also being able to help our African partners. Because the regional challenges across the continent of Africa is inextricably linked to the global challenges that affect U.S. interests. Inextricably linked. If it fails on Africa, it'll affect the world globally, and vice versa. Yeah. And so that's why we partner. So, yes, our strategic communication, as we communicate back to Congress, our national command authorities across our greater governments, I have to be able to tell that story of how important it is to be able to do operations, activities, and investments that will benefit, or be a mutual benefit, for countries across the continent of Africa or back in the homeland.
Awesome stuff. Have there been any instances of resistance or opposition from African countries regarding the presence of the U.S. in the continent?
Well, it's well known about what's going on across the Sahel and Niger, and they have their choices. Yeah. They have their choices, and that's the good part about it. We don't impose ourselves as, no, you need us. They make their decisions on their security, but then we're still in communication with them. And our State Department will determine what capacity and the way forward. So I see that as long as you stay in contact and continue to be able to progress forward. Yeah. Because it's long-range objectives for security and stability. Okay. In any country.
And for those who say that there is a military base in Botswana, a U.S. military base in Botswana, I want to understand it. I'm from that area, Thebephatshwa area. It's next to Molepolole, and it's an ongoing story that the U.S. have a military base in Botswana. There's political parties from outside of Botswana. People have been prohibited now from coming to Botswana because of talking about this story a lot. So I'm going to ask you, General, is there a military base, U.S. military base in Botswana?
Hopefully I can put all this to rest.
Yes, sir.
No, there is not.
Okay.
But we are deepening our partnership. through our activities together.
Yes, sir.
Whether it's engagements like the Chiefs of Defense Conference here, or whether it be us working together in exercises, in exchange of information, security cooperation, some equipment, maybe C-130 type aircraft being transitioned over, but not a base.
Okay.
Not a base.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear what they say in the comments.
Okay. All right.
It's going to be a whole conversation.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think that's always, because Africa has so many influences from outside, the West, the East, there's always, we find ourselves right in the middle of, some fights that we don't even know about. So I'm always trying to figure out how then, as a country that has 2 million people, then gets identified as, this is where America will be coming from to get our leaders. Everyone can stay calm about that.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Awesome stuff. There's something that I passed by your office also, but I just wanted to know about, I don't know if you directly deal with it. It was said that it's dealt with by the State Department, but it's slavery in Africa, in Northern Africa. Is the U.S. Africa Command able to help out in all of these stories that we keep seeing of African guys that want to migrate, let's say to Europe, get caught up in other countries that end up enslaving them? Is this something that's in the attention of the Africa Command, or is that another matter for the countries themselves?
Yes, that's a whole government problem. Yes, in which that's in the diplomatic realms of watch groups. They identify that, and yes, that is clearly in the lanes of the State Department.
Okay, and then if in the instances, which countries are of the main concerns? If we were to make a list, we don't have to, but like, which countries are of more concern, and what are these concerns within the continent?
Well, I just, like I said, it's pretty much open source, across the Sahel. There are some challenges. Yeah. There are some challenges. And we all work together collectively, and we will address some of these challenges in our own form starting tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But, yes, there are some challenges across the Sahel.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you say there's no basis. Are there any bases in the continent? Are there any bases, and are there any strategic significances of having bases, or it's just temporary placement where you can be able to run command from?
Well, and in places where we are gives us the capability to respond to crisis. Okay. And both helping out our African partners, but also we have a number of citizens at embassies that helps us navigate that based on the ask of the particular country.
All right. You can't divulge which places.
No, it's common known. It's already known.
Okay.
There are no secrets.
All right.
Yeah, where we are.
Okay.
Yes.
I wanted to find out also about the long-term goals of the U.S. Africa Command. How old is it now?
Wow. Yeah, you can go all the way back to 2007, 2008, officially. But
you started in 2022.
I started in August 2022 as far as my tenureship of command. Stewardship of command started in 2022.
So you had been within the Africa Command before, or were you doing something else before?
No, I was in Central Command. Okay. I was in Pacific Command, Northern Command.
Okay.
Yeah, so globally, I have had the pleasure of serving.
All right. So the long-term goals for U.S. Africa Command in the region, how do you see this command's role evolving over the next decade?
Over the next decade, I'd say that we want to see progress. Both progress in a level of security and stability, because that's what's defined by the African partners in which we work with. And going forward, being able to engage with our African partners in deciding what is the way to go in regional, per region, being able to provide rights and freedoms in these governments as they build out their ability to serve their people and grow their economies. It equates to prosperity. Yeah. I'd like to see that we address some of the stressors or drivers of insecurity or instability with our African partners. But I'll just state it again. It's based on the beckoning or the ask of our African partners. Mm-hmm. They will lead it, and we will help.
Yes. Who are the biggest targets or adversaries for the U.S. Africa Command, and who are you focused and zoning into right now?
Let me just say this. What our biggest thing is getting our message of all the good things we want to do in partnering with our African. And I'd say that sometimes that's challenged by misinformation or disinformation. There's competitors out there and challengers out there to put out the wrong story about our intentions of AFRICOM, our intentions of U.S. government. And I need to be able to tell that story. Mm-hmm. And Scar, you let me tell this story. Yeah. That we identify and we have common goals of the partners that we work with, common values, and they identify how we can help, and they lead it. Okay. That's the truth. There's no hidden agenda. Mm-hmm. That's the story I want to be able to tell, and not a story of that we have ulterior motives. Yeah.
How does social media play into all of this?
It plays big time because that space has been is fraught with misinformation, and I just say disinformation. Disinformation is intentionally changing the story of the intentions of AFRICOM or the U.S. government writ large. Yeah. Whereas they don't tell the whole story of our whole of government approach. They don't tell about what USAID is doing, especially the PEPFAR program, the President's Emergency Action Program against AIDS, and how it's extended in a number of countries life expectancy by 20 years. Yeah. Okay, or our fight against malaria. Or just overall the humanitarian assistance across the globe. You know who they're, when in Sudan, when Hamedi and Burhan started fighting back last year, you know who was there because the people in the Darfur region were suffering? You know who was there? United States International Development Agency. Yeah. Agency for International Development was there ready to push aid. People don't tell that story. That's the whole of government. We work with USAID and State Department to provide, especially in consequence, especially when it's a crisis, whether it be floods, whether it be famine. U.S. AFRICOM works with we call ourselves the 3D of diplomacy and defense and development. Okay. Someone taking that story and trying to turn it, it's hard to do that because I'm telling the story. This is what really happens. We're trying to help the people that are suffering on the continent of Africa.
That's great. I want to come back to where we are, which is the conference. For the next couple of days, what does the program look like, and who is here to attend?
Oh, wow. We're going to have over 30 different chiefs of defense or representatives from over 30 different countries. And we're just going to lay everything out on the table. Yeah. Like I said, we can talk about opportunities, but I think we need to address the elephant in the room, if you will. Yeah. Okay, about the instability across various regions that we just talked about. Are we doing the right thing? Are we approaching it right with pure security or a whole of government? And what do we need to tell our respective national command authorities across our own respective governments of the way forward, whether it be a regional organization or whether it just be collective bilateralism as we go to a country and say, okay, you asked us for help, and here's how we think we can help. So we put those things up because we know that the strategic environment is changing. Yeah. And we need to be able to change with our methodology or our approach. The enduring solution to terrorism, the enduring solution to violent extremist organizations is not just a military method or solution. It's more than that. So we're going to lay that out and address, are we approaching it right? Are we scope and scale? Are we presenting our help in the right ways? We do this in exercises, so we model and simulate, but when we come together and engage with each other and discuss what we got right and what we got wrong, that's the value in the next couple of days that are going to be presented before us.
With ideologies, this is not even on the prep. I'm just thinking out loud. I think I can throw it at you. It's like with world ideologies, it's starting to look like it's either you're with us or you're with them type of energy. I don't know, because we have neighbors who probably, you have a lot of people who have some resistance to the presence of the United States within the continent. Is that what really the policy is? If you're not with us, then you're against us, or how does it work? Because like I said, this is, I'm mainly from the defense perspective. Yes, sir.
But I listen and I learn.
Yes, sir.
I would never go into a setting and engage with our partners and say, hey, either them or us.
Yeah.
No, we don't dictate that.
Yeah.
We listen. And I heard one president, I won't throw it out now, but it's on. One president said, hey, we don't face east, we don't face west, we face forward and we march forward. Yeah. That was one of the presidents from the continent of Africa, and we understand that. Mm-hmm. So when I engage with our partners, we don't say, hey, either them or us. Yeah. No, we don't force them to choose. Yeah. We listen. We listen to what they need, and we tailor what we have to see if we're the right solution to go forward. And with our value proposition, I am slanted in that direction. I know that what we present as a U.S. government, that it is the countries that ask, we're there to help.
Yes, and I think I didn't get the answer about the long-term goals of the Africa Command in the next couple of years. How do you see it further developing and helping the African continent face all of these threats that exist in the world? Because it can be anything, anytime, any day. So how do we get better as a collective?
Yes, I'd say that the long-term goal, across any campaign, would be able to hit the prominent objectives. And I will say it again, the prominent objectives, when I say security and stability, are the precursors of being able to affect prosperity, rights and freedoms of the people, transparency by governments, institutionalizing and professionalizing these governments to be able to serve their own people. Yeah. That's the long-term goal. Yes. The security construct is a piece of that.
Okay. Awesome stuff. And I want to know personally from you, where is it? Because I want to know the most challenging aspect of having a role like this and being a leader of men and women throughout the whole continent. What are some of the most challenging aspects of your job?
Well, I just say that at the strategic level, being able to communicate my message, and that message being received the right way, the way I intend it to be received, to be able to tell the story across our African partners, and it be compelling enough to be a positive influence, inspirational influence, to work together with shared values and shared objectives. That is a tasking within itself.
Yes, sir.
That's something I have to continue to work because there are other misinformation and disinformation, a lot of mediums in which you can receive information.
Yeah.
So when you ask me that, Scar,
Yeah.
what is the biggest challenge? The challenge is there.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it because you give me this opportunity today to talk to the masses.
Yeah.
I know how many people follow you.
Yeah.
I know how many people watch your telecast. So, yes. So I just want to say thank you.
No, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And another question that I have is like, what message would you like to convey in closing, and as of the importance of U.S. engagement in Africa, and going forward, the future.
Yes. So as people look at United States Africa Command, how we define ourselves is all too important. We need to be looked upon as a whole of government type organization of development, diplomacy, and defense. Collectively, we have a symbiotic relationship. And when we engage with our African partners and they define what assistance they need from U.S. AFRICOM, they know that they're getting that portfolio of capabilities. And our approach is going to have the same values, same shared objectives that begets security, stability, and prosperity to the people and the masses across their civil society.
Awesome stuff.
That's what I would like to project.
I love that.
Thank you, Scar.
Thank you so much. And just in closing, should the Cowboys trade Dak Prescott?
Well, I was born in Louisiana, and Dak was born in Louisiana too, so I can't turn against him. I just have to have strategic patience, stick with him.
Okay.
You know.
And what about this coming season? Do you think the Baltimore Ravens will ultimately win it?
And Jackson, he's, the Baltimoreans, they're starting to wonder about that too, if they can get over it. But I'm going to stick with my Cowboys. I'm going to look at the AFC. So I'm going to keep hope alive.
Awesome stuff.
Because when last time I was the last time I was on the African continent, it was probably the last time the Dallas Cowboys won the Super Bowl.
That's a long time.
It is, over 30 years. So
wow, 92.
Yeah. Well, they won in 92. They did win in 95 too.
Okay.
But yeah.
Awesome stuff. Yeah. No, thank you so much, General Langley, for providing such valuable insights. You're the man. We can't wait to see you again whenever you come back to Botswana. And I hope they give you a tour around some of our nicer spaces. We have the most elephants in the world.
Yes.
So you can't come to Botswana and not see one.
Okay.
All right.
I need to do that.
So let's make sure, or at least get like a little pottery, a sculpture. Say I was in Botswana. Something.
I will.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, General Langley, and thank you for improving security in the continent.
All right, Scar.
Thank you so much. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our show. It's been fun hanging out, and we'll see you again next week, Wednesday. I'm Scar. He's General Langley. We out. Peace.
People of different identities. PODI-CAST with PODI-CAST.